I came to this part of my birding patch looking for the Indigo Bunting fledglings, but a certain persistent sound kept pulling my attention elsewhere. It was repetitive and insistent, so I followed the calls through the leaves and found what I first thought were two tiny blue-gray Gnatcatcher fledglings. I could hardly believe my luck. They were together, low enough for me to see clearly, and almost impossibly cute. And that really did feel lucky because blue-gray gnatcatchers are not easy birds to watch. They're tiny and fast, usually darting and zipping through the high canopy, making them difficult not only to spot, but to follow. In fact, most days I only know they're nearby because I hear their thin, buzzy calls coming from somewhere above me. But this sound was different, and amid all the other bird voices competing for my attention, I'm so glad I turned toward it, because it led me to these cutie pies. At first, one fledgling was facing away from me, and the other began to sidle closer and closer until it was snuggled right up beside its sibling. I mean, how sweet is that? And then my luck tripled because a third fledgling appeared. I'd been delighted to find two, but suddenly there were three, and yes, it wanted to join the group. But apparently, settling beside the others wasn't enough. The best place was right in the middle. Such a sibling move. And just like that, all three fledglings were pressed together on the same branch. They were out of the nest now, but they certainly weren't independent yet. Every so often, their father arrived with food. His visits lasted only a moment. The quiet little group would suddenly spring to life, turning, reaching, and opening their mouths as wide as they possibly could. Their whole bodies seemed to become part of the plea, each one insisting with every fiber of its tiny being that it was surely the hungriest. And then, before I could blink, he was gone. Again and again, they seemed to choose closeness. After Dad would leave, they would go back to the serious business of being fledglings. One seemed to be testing whether an invisible speck might be edible. Another appeared to be struggling to stay awake. And sometimes all three turned their heads at almost exactly the same moment or looked at the same thing, following things through the trees above or below. They were so darn cute. Three newly fledged birds, each already showing a little personality, one curious, one sleepy, and one very determined to sit in the middle. This is Birding with Kaliopi, where young birds are pulled toward the wider world while at the same time finding comfort pressed side by side.